Hello and welcome back. I'm Deirdre and this is episode 10 of my series on downsizing, moving into my new home and the changes that I've had to make, more decluttering that's going on, what are the challenges along the way. And one of the things that I was doing was I was changing some of the furniture. I started painting in order to make the furniture fit in more to the style I want here, which I will talk about perhaps more on my next video. Well, I definitely have to talk about that. So today I just want to put the finishing coats on, talk you through it, and the few things that you do to get a really nice finish on any sort of furniture or walls, and I'll take it from there. It's been a busy week, so I haven't had time to go out and get grey paint, which is what I had hoped to use or I have thought about using. But I would like it to have white underneath it anyway, because if I choose to rub through a little bit before I wax it, then it's a really nice soft, just, not distressed looking, I don't mean that, but just a little bit worn, and the grey can then just give way to a little bit of white. But either way, the white's going to go on first, and maybe down the track I will change it to a soft grey on the tops as well, but that's for another day. Well, I've got my things out and I've got a drop cloth down under the table, and I just wanted to talk about dusting off. Now you can see in the sheen of the light that there is it is a very smooth surface. Now what I've decided to do is I'm just going to do a dust off with the sandpaper, but I'm using P400. Now we had that discussion last week about the fact that that relates to the number of gritty particles per square inch, I think. But anyway, it's a higher number, so it's much finer sandpaper. Now I would often just use a 320, but this is really smooth because I took my time and did it carefully. So I'm perfectly happy just to do lightly dust it off. Now that is literally what it says it is. You use the sanding block, sandpaper around it, and very light pressure. Okay, don't want to cut through the paint. You just want to smooth off any sort of slightly rough lifted areas, and there might be some little pieces of grit that have come in, just little bits of dust, and you just want to get all of those off before you actually start painting. Then I'll move on to the next thing. Okay, so that's done, and you can see that there's even more of a sheen on it now, but more to the point, you rub your hands across it. It's like silk. It's really a very nice finish. And I know that it's just the undercoat, but if your undercoat isn't nice and smooth, and if you can't, you always have to rub your hands over it, let it talk to you about how it, where the gritty bits are. Right, now, down to the paint. I'll sit on the floor, of course, and now this is the point that I have this paint already. I wanted to show you this. So it's had the lid nice and soft on very carefully, but that's what the paint looks like after it has settled. When you buy it and they shake it all up for you, and at this point you get a paint stirrer. And no, a chopstick does not do the job. You see how this has got holes in it, and it just really feeds a lot of paint through it. So you stir it completely until that all starts to come back, and you keep going much longer than you think you have to. Now I've poured out some into my trusty yogurt pot. I just like to say that when you pour it out, you're going to get some in this lip, and I just cleaned that pretty much out, which is why I can get the lid back off again when I want to, because, and I'll put it on quite hard, I'll use a mallet and I'll pop it back on properly. But it won't then have so much paint in there that it actually fuses around to the tin. I'm going to do exactly as I did last time, which is to paint on and roll off. Now I'm going to put you down before I start, but remember, you take your brush. This brush, by the way, has been in the freezer, which is why I haven't had to wash it. I haven't had to go through that procedure. I have simply wrapped it well in a plastic bag and popped it in the freezer. Not in an area where I had food, and that is, once again, don't overload the brush, but fill it nicely, and off you go. And here in the morning sunlight, with me with a croaky voice, is the table. And I didn't take you over every stage of painting, because paint takes a long time to dry in winter, even in a warm apartment. So I'm very happy with it. You can see the shadows on it, but look, you can see the sheen. That's all I wanted. I didn't want gloss. This is a semi-gloss. See that beautiful sheen on it? And they're just shadows. It's hard to show in the shadows, but for a pretty beat up table, it has come up beautifully, I have to admit. Give myself a little pat. So the process went pretty much as you saw it. I sanded it down with 400 grit sandpaper from the undercoat sealer. Then I put on the first coat of top coat, waited some more, went to bed. And in the morning I sanded it with the 400 grit again and put on and dusted it very thoroughly, and then did another coat of the top coat and went to work. And then I came home and sanded it again, that was last night, and rubbed it down and sort of thought about, you know, how many more coats, and I thought, well, I'll try for just one more, because it is a tabletop, because it is going to get a lot of hard work, and I also needed it to go off really well in between every coat for just that reason as well. So I waited some more, and in the end, you can see the shadow of the insect screens on my table. That's a good sign. There are no brush marks that I can see. The last coat I put on was fairly thin. Look at that shine. Happy with that. So the last coat that I put on, I didn't use the little roller and dry. The last coat that I put on, I didn't use the little roller and dry it off with that. I used a fairly thin coat of the top coat and brushed it on. I brushed it on with a very clean brush. I'd cleaned off, so it was like a new brush, and I just let the paint do the work. It was very light. With you don't spread it. You let the paint spread itself. But having said that, you don't glop it on, and you make sure you spread it evenly, but don't stretch it. And there we are. It's come up pretty close to as good as I could imagine. In fact, better than I thought a little table like that would look. And I think this is it from the other side of the room. And the thing I like most now, though, is that it does lighten that corner. Now I have the conundrum of the chairs, which are comfortable, which I love. You know, I love that fabric, and I'm tempted to paint the brown on them white. I'm not there yet, but obviously that wall, I'll wait till I've done the wall and I've done the buffet in white, and then I'll decide, because it's looking a bit busy over there at the moment. I have been entrusted, while my son and his wife are on honeymoon, I have been entrusted with their orchid. This is terrifying. I realise this, I'm going to put back where it was. See, it's in its little light pot, and you have to make sure that it gets lots of air. Orchids are air plants. They live tucked into the little corners and elbows of trees, and they usually hang down, so they don't like water. They usually, of course, hang like that. They usually hang upside down, so they never have water in that part. They just get misted. So we have to be very careful now that we've decided to grow them so they grow upright. Anyway, it terrifies me looking after somebody else's thing. So the process of doing that table took a while, and it's taken several days actually, and I know I promised to have uploaded it during the week, but that's that, because this is actually Saturday. I've been with a friend this morning. We went back to have a look at her school buildings, which is astonishingly beautiful. In Melbourne we have one weekend a year. It's called the Open House Weekend, and lots of different buildings open up to the public, so you can go and have a look, and they range from the historic and the very beautiful, which my friend's school is, right through to the most modern and eco-friendly, fabulous places, some built with wood, really, really interesting modern buildings, which of course I also love. Well, I'm going to finish this and upload it, edit it, upload it, do all of those things for you, so that I can get on to I've got to empty the buffet, move it away from that wall, and get into getting prep coats onto that wall to knock out that brown before I can even think about anything else. I will obviously be back with more, so if you'd like to join me, please subscribe, and if you'd like to see the days of decluttering that got to the downsizing, there's a playlist here. I hope that whatever you're doing, you're having a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!